Introducing Mike Scudamore, Commercial Director at Team BRIT, the world's only competitive team of all disabled racing drivers.
Lovely to see you all. Thank you for coming to join us. If there's anybody here that wants to find out about the world's only team made up of an all-disabled driver lineup, please come and see us. I promise you we're extremely exciting. If you haven't been to see us today already, you haven't found out about us, we'd love to tell you more about our story. Thank you for the 3 people that have come in to join us.
Yeah. Any more?
I feel like the crowd's doubling as we speak, Aaron. I think it's going to be much better. Okay, before we start, we've got a very cool video that we shot shortly. Here we go.
The Motability Scheme is incredible because it lets people with a huge range of disabilities have an affordable way to drive a car on the roads and just be independent. Just having such easy and simple access to new safe cars, drive out on the roads and be as independent as I can be in my wheelchair. Being on the Motability Scheme, it's given me so much more independence than I would have had before. Being able to drive and get to the places that I need to be in order to enjoy my life, getting to test sessions, getting down to the HQ, training, I'm empowered by Motability. Having Motability as a sponsor for myself has been probably the most incredible thing. They've been able to back me up for a season and they've given me a seat in a racing car. I can't stop smiling and thinking about it, and it helps me get up in the morning. My experience with the scheme so far has been extremely smooth, all the way from choosing my car on the Motability website all the way to picking up from the dealership. Just everything has been simple and easy to use. Honestly, it takes away from the mountains and things that come with being in a wheelchair and just getting about. So taking that stress away from our lives is such a comforting and important thing.
There's a little bit about us. So that was filmed, we're very lucky, we went pre-season testing in Portugal. So it's, the weather's quite nice outside today, but I promise you it was beautiful when we were out in Portugal in February. Now, who are Team BRIT? Some of you may have come to see us today, but I wanted to give you a little bit more information. Team BRIT is the only team in the world comprised of an all-disabled driver lineup. So whether it's, for example, Aaron or Noah here who are paraplegics, whether it's Asher who's autistic, any disability, whether it be physical or psychological challenges, every one of those people are welcome at our team. And one of the unique things about racing for Team BRIT is that in motor racing, there is no class for disabled drivers. Everybody races together. So it's really empowering to enable our drivers to compete against able-bodied drivers, and not just compete, but to win. All the drivers we have here on the podium with us today, in the last 4 weeks, less than that, have all finished at the very top of their class and won races. So that's certainly due a round of applause from the amassed crowd. Thank you very much. So what you can see on the screen, who are Team BRIT? There's a mixture of drivers, different disabilities. We also need people like me to find the money to help the team to go racing. We need the PR people to spread the word, to tell people about the team so that we can attract sponsors like the fantastic support we receive from Motability. So who are our drivers? They're the people you've really come to see. You don't want to listen to me talking. I'm not very exciting. So we'll start with Noah. Noah's joined the team a couple of years ago. Spent last year driving a Citroen C1, which, as I'm sure many of you know, isn't the most powerful car in the world. It's probably got significantly less horsepower than your wheelchair, I reckon, Noah. However, this year he stepped up with Asher and he's racing the BMW M240. Now, for those of you who don't know Noah, perhaps you could give me a little bit of an insight into how you became disabled and what your journey's been like from when you became disabled to how you're ending up driving this BMW in Portugal.
Yeah, of course, Mike. So about 3 years ago, 2021 March, around lockdown, I was riding freestyle motocross, and
that sounds quite impressive. Is that when you do the tricks upside down? Are you doing flips?
Yeah. So I was on 2 wheels that time, and one day, just overshot the jump and broke my back and had a spinal cord injury. And from then on, I kind of felt like I'd lost everything in myself because that was just my whole life, my motocross. until I came across Team BRIT, and that filled that huge hole that basically had been left after my accident. And honestly, I haven't looked back. It's been incredible.
So big change, obviously, driving on 2 wheels to driving on 4 wheels.
Yeah.
But bearing in mind your legs don't work, how are you driving the car?
Yeah. So there are pedals in the car, but I don't use them at all. Basically on our wheel, we've got a paddle on the right, which when I squeeze it, it accelerates. And
Thank you, Aaron.
On the left side, we've got a paddle, and that will brake the car. And on the face of the wheel, we've got 2 switches each side where basically I can press with my thumbs and it will shift the car up a gear or down a gear. And that is how I'm able to be completely competitive with able-bodied drivers and absolutely smoke them.
Yeah, that's what we like. That's what we like to hear. So, a lot of people will be wondering, thinking that, hang on a second, I'm a disabled driver. Why aren't I driving for Team BRIT? Could you let me know maybe some of the things that are really important? Like we talked about, some people have asked about transferring in and out of the car. What are the rules really if you want to be a racer? And can you talk about, what to do in the event of a fire? What happens? How do you get out?
So when I was getting my race license, obviously something to take into mind is the possibility of fire in the car, and I had to prove that in under 7 seconds I could jump out of the car and make my way away from it. So I had to do that as something to be a disabled racing driver.
Now that's not an easy thing to do. So would you just throw yourself out on the floor?
Yeah, literally. It's not very pretty. I don't think any of you want to really
We're not
watch
really
it,
mean though.
but,
We did put a crash mat down. We didn't throw him out onto the tarmac.
Yeah, but getting in and out is pretty similar to how I get into my road car. I just got to climb over a roll cage instead.
It's probably a good idea. Just sorry to interrupt you there, but I know we race in team races. For those of you who don't know, it's not an individual sport. It's all about being a team player. So you talked about a pit stop, getting in and out of the car. How does that work when you're under pressure and you've got to change in or out of the car, and I guess in a limited amount of time?
Yeah, exactly. So in the series that we race, BRIT Car Trophy, because it's endurance racing, instead of like F1 getting a pit stop done as quick as you can, we actually have a minimum of 3 minutes. So whoever's driving first in the race, whether it's Asher or I, will come into the pits, and on the front kind of dash of our car, time will start counting down. We'll come in, I'll jump out, or Asher will jump out, and the other driver will jump back in. So say I was in the car first, the crew comes out, swing open the door, I take off my belts, jump into the chair that they've brought past, and Asher jumps in as quickly as she can. And while the crew is watching this timer go down, hopefully they push us out just on time to be perfectly out of the pits within 3 minutes.
Yeah, so it's very different to a Formula One pit stop where they're changing the wheels in, say, 3 seconds with 24 people involved in the pit stop. We're only allowed 6 people involved in the pit stop, and we have to be exceptionally accurate. So if we leave the pit lane in under that minimum time, even by 0.001 of a second, that's a penalty. It's a drive-through penalty. So the special software that Noah was talking about there allows us to be able to, we track the entry line on a Friday when we arrive and the exit line. We work out the minimum pit lane speed, and some magical computer works out when to leave the pit box to get to the line at exactly the right time. And it certainly works. So I think the last 2 races we've had the 2 most accurate pit stops in the field. And that time saved in the pits can be the difference between first place and last place. So it's really important to get that right.
It was.
It certainly was. That was the difference.
It was because of how good that pit was that we managed to get first. Not just our racing, but it was a real team effort.
As if by magic, it now seems a perfect time to move over to Asher Silver, who is Noah's teammate. So Asher, like Noah last year, was driving a little Citroen C1. This year, stepping up to drive the BMW, also a race winner with Noah. So fantastic. Thank you for coming to join us, Asher, today. Could you give us a little bit of information about your psychological challenges and how driving for Team BRIT has helped you?
Sure. So I was diagnosed as having adult autism and ADHD a couple of years back. I'm a late diagnosis individual, so literally that came along and it's like loads of questions were answered in my mind, and I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders effectively. But then I used to race on sim, and I won an all-women's championship on sim for Team BRIT. and that kind of created a stepping stone for me to get into circuit racing in the real cars for Team BRIT. So when I'm in the car, what happens, I literally go into this sense of hyper-focus, and I'm constantly thinking about instructions that we're given, and because of the fact that I can hyper-focus, all of my momentum, mental momentum, it's a thing for me, goes into understanding what I've been told, when I need to do it, and how I need to do it. Sometimes it doesn't always translate the best way, and I can sort of get very frustrated. That's part of the mental struggle that I have. But yeah, it's very much how I function.
It's interesting what you were saying there about the autism. I know structure is really important. How do you cope with, going to different tracks all the time? It's not like a routine where you go to work. How do you cope with going to different circuits?
So the good thing about the fact that we've got a season is we know where we're going at any one time. We've got a timetable. And whatever we're doing in between, Mike will tend to send us emails letting us know what we need to do, when we're doing it, how we're doing it. And that gives me enough time to compartmentalize things in order for me to be in the right mental state for when I'm actually going to have to sit in the car. And it was very much something that I noticed I needed from a mental preparation perspective, getting into the car and knowing I'd be able to give my all, 150% when I was sat in the car, even if it's testing. So if we're going out testing, I need to know when we're going, what time, how we're going to get there. All of those things, they add up so that I can relax knowing that everything's got a section in my mind and tick the boxes as it happens.
I think that what Ash you're talking about there in terms of preparation. Preparation is key whether you're preparing a race car, like the snazzy ones you see over there on the left-hand side, or whether it's preparing the drivers. The more preparation everybody has, I know Noah, for example, checking out the guns there. Noah does a lot of work in the gym. Yeah, so Noah is probably, and Aaron, to be fair, I don't want to make you feel left out, but they are certainly two of our fittest drivers. And in terms of preparing physically, in terms of preparing mentally, preparing the cars, if you get the preparation right, you're halfway there, right? That's half the job.
Exactly.
So, Asha, thank you very much for that insight. Next, we have our excellent steering wheel model. We have Aaron here on the right-hand side. Aaron, I hate to call Aaron a veteran, but he has been with us the longest out of the drivers here, and has also been racing for the longest. So, Aaron, maybe you could give a little potted history maybe about your disability, how you became disabled, and maybe where your racing journey started, and how on earth you got here racing and winning races in our McLaren.
Yeah, of course, Mike. So I, excuse me, I grew up watching my dad go-karting, and through go-karting I had a friend who raced rallycross. So whenever I wasn't watching my dad go-karting, we were regularly at Liddon Hill, for those of you who know it, down near Dover, watching John race his rallycross car. Then when I was 7 years old, I began motocross racing similar to Noah. But when I was 15, I grew up, as I got older, the bikes I got bigger and bigger engine sizes. The jumps I did were bigger and bigger, and the speeds I got to were higher and higher. Then when I was 15 years old on Good Friday, I had an accident on one of my favourite tracks on one of the jumps, which left me with a spinal cord injury, and I actually stopped breathing for 9 minutes. So I was fighting for my life as well. And upon learning that information, it made me realise how lucky I was to still be alive, and how, from that day on, I've lived, my ethos behind life has just been, I'm so lucky to still be alive. I'm going to make the most of every opportunity that comes my way. Now, when I was in hospital, I pushed my dad to get in contact with John again, because I was keen to, hospitals are boring places, so I was keen to get out of the hospital for the weekend. So we went along to Brands Hatch to watch John race again. And he said as publicity for his business, the 2 branches of his business, he'd love to build me a car and get me back into racing again. So I almost felt like I won the lottery. So I raced independently from 2011 all the way through to 2020 when I joined Team BRIT. Then I used hand controls in, it was an E30 BMW and E36 compact BMW, which were enough to get me back on the track. But they probably did still leave me at a bit of a disadvantage, but I didn't want to play that down. I wanted to show how empowering them controls were. But since joining Team BRIT and using these world-leading hand controls, driving the team's Aston Martin V8 Vantage, and now the incredible McLaren, which is just over there, through winning races, we've already had 1 race win so far this season. Hopefully get another one next month when we're at Silverstone. It's fair to say I haven't looked back since joining the team.
Aaron, thank you very much indeed. That's really, really insightful. And a round of applause as well. We'll call it a ripple. It wasn't quite a round, is it?
Maybe it was for my air stewardess style. You know, next thing you know, I'll be saying the emergency exits here, here, and here, and this is how you do your seatbelt up.
Well, what we do know for certain is, I guess a lot of you here will know about hand controls and adaptations to your cars. So a traditional car that you might be driving has a push-pull system. So literally push to press the brake, pull to press the accelerator, and it's a mechanical link to your accelerator or brake. The big difference with our car in our hand controls is it's a fly-by-wire system. If you're an able-bodied driver, you're driving with your feet, you've got your hands on the wheel, gear up and down with paddles behind the steering wheel. So if you're a disabled driver, having to take your hand off the wheel would be a disadvantage. And maybe if you're coming into a chicane, you're flat out, you're hard on the brakes, you blip down a couple of gears, feather the throttle, you couldn't do that with a push-pull lever. So the system we've developed has an electronic throttle, just like most cars these days, but the real trick is the fly-by-wire braking. So when Aaron magically demonstrates here and squeezes that magic lever, what that's doing is speaking to a computer, which speaks to an air compressor, which sends air to an air reservoir. From that air reservoir, it then speaks to some pneumatics and then presses the brakes. Fortunately, much quicker than I can say it. However, that's exactly how it works. But one of the big differences is there's no feel. So if you're currently driving with a normal brake or even a push-pull system, when you press the brake, you're getting feedback that comes through your hand or your feet to let you know that you're pressing hard. But Aaron, that's not the case with you. So how do you know how much to squeeze it? How do you learn what to do?
It's all through, as you politely pointed out at the start, I'm the most experienced member of the team. So I've had a bit of practice using these. But the way dominantly I do it is you'll come into a corner, you'll very politely just pull the brake pedal fully. But we're very lucky in the car. We've got a little Motec dashboard just to the right, over to my right-hand side. So when I'm sitting, I can just see it out the corner of my eye. And there's got some blue lights in it that flash up when the ABS is activated. So when I come in and I go like that, the blue lights will come on. And then once they're on, I know I need to let off a bit so the ABS stops working. Because then if you imagine if 100% the ABS lights come on, but 99% they don't, 99% is about where you want to be. So every time you come in, you see the lights flash, you'll let off a little bit, and a little bit more. And then just by how fast or slow the corner is coming at you, you can then work out how much, you know the car's capability to turn the corners. So you're able to work
muscle memory almost.
So you're almost able to work out how much more you need to brake or less you need to brake in order to be able to take the speed, the corner at the speed you know the car's capable of.
Fantastic, Aaron. Thank you very much for that insight. What I would like to do is just come back to the two drivers next to me who are driving the BMW you see on the screen at the moment. It looks even better in the sunshine. It looks quite nice over there, but it looks even nicer in the sunshine. Noah, just coming to you first of all. So 2 years ago, you weren't even a member of the team. You then did a little bit of C1 racing. You're now racing a BMW. What would success look like for you in the next couple of years?
So the next few years, I've obviously got my eyes on that McLaren over there.
Watch out, Aaron. He's coming for you. He's coming for you. Good job we got two. We got two of them. We've got another one back at base. He'll be all right.
Yeah, of course. So hopefully, I can continue to bring back good results for the team and show them that I should stick around. And yeah, it's honestly looking for more just sponsorship and getting into faster cars and championships obviously comes with a price as well. And I think long run, my dream as well as the team's honestly is being able to compete in Le Mans 24-hour and in the GT3 spec car, which is a step above the McLaren. The McLaren's GT4, a GT3 car is another good step up. And that's I reckon long term, few years down the line.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Asher, coming to you next. What do you think has been one of your biggest challenges that you've overcome when racing for Team BRIT?
That's a hard question. So, compartmentalising things that I don't need to worry about, I think, is probably the truth of the matter here. So, if I have something that's going on in my mind, which is going to create something that's going to sort of stifle my growth, say, Ash, put that away. It's not going to help you. Put your focus into where the car's going, how quick you're going to get around the track. Doing that is very, very, very difficult. But with the right coaching, it's very, very doable. And that was very much the case in one of my last races. I actually had to have a conversation with my race coach, and I say, look, I can't get myself over X. I feel like I'm not going quick enough here. He's like, put that to the side, relax, don't worry about that, just concentrate on what your goal is. That is getting around the track faster than you did the last time. So trying to make sure that I understand what that looks like, that's probably the hardest thing.
Well, I always think whenever you see the racing stars on the television, they get so much attraction from the media. They're getting bombarded with questions. They're getting flashbulbs going off in their faces. They've got people asking them questions. Everybody wants a piece of them. Sign my hat. Can you sign this? And then they've got to get into a race car and drive at 200 miles an hour. So it must be very hard to switch off mentally to be able to prepare and get ready. And I know these two are really going to be pushing themselves this season because they're very evenly matched, as I understand it. So I believe, what have we done, 3 races so far?
Yeah.
What's the score so far? 2-1? In terms of who's faster at each circuit? Or is it even closer
We're on
than
even
that?
Stevens, I think. It's just, no, wait. Yeah, because Snet was your kryptonite.
Who was
and
faster at
Brands
the
was my
first
kryptonite.
race? Second race?
Anyway, we were even Stevens at Donny.
As a judge, aren't they being so polite? The good job they're not racing against each other. They're racing with each other. So as I say, the importance of being able to push your teammates is really important. You don't want somebody that's super fast and someone who's super slow. You want to be pushing each other all the time to really be able to make your team perform at the absolute utmost. Because it's like any business. Although what you see on the surface is the car zooming around the track, a lot has gone on to get there. Without the support of sponsors like Motability, we wouldn't be even on the track. So it's things like that, everything that's gone on, the design of the car, the preparation of the car to get to the race itself. It's a bit like the classic iceberg scenario, where the tip of the iceberg is the icing on the cake, is the trophy on the podium, but a lot has gone on to get there in the first place. I hope that's been insightful. I hope you've learned a little bit about our team and what we're about. But the great news is we've got some time for some questions. So I've got my beautiful assistant over there on the right-hand side, who will be bringing around a microphone to see if anybody has any questions to ask. If you don't have any questions to ask, I'll pretend and I'll make some up. There's one. I knew if we waited long enough, Chloe, somebody would ask a question. Hope it's a good one, sir.
Hopefully. Well, my question is that I've driven for a few years. I've always had an interest in motorsport and racing. What would be the first way into having a go?
I would say if someone's interested in motor racing, a great starting point is go-karting. It's a great price point to come into the sport, probably for between £30 and £50. Your local indoor or outdoor circuit will have something they call an arrive and drive session, which is exactly as it sounds, turn up and have a go. And most circuits in the UK now have access to hand controls. So if you do need to drive with your hands rather than your feet, normally a telephone call or an email in advance, and they'll be able to arrange the adaptations for you before you arrive. Once you've mastered go-karting, it's then time to start finding and digging a little deeper down the back of the sofa because racing starts getting expensive. But there's an opportunity then. You have to have a racing license to take part in racing. And then you've got your suit, your helmet, your hands device, your gloves, your boots, driver training. And then give me a call and we'll see if we can get you out in one of our purple machines that are just sat over there. No problem. No pressure.
No, here we go.
How can we follow your journey and support you?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So we are, of course, online on multiple platforms. So we have a website, teambrit.co.uk, dead easy. And then we're on Instagram, Team BRIT Racing. And then it's the same on Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, I think, as well. So all across social media. Our next race is 15th and 16th of June at Silverstone. And I think what a lot of people don't realise is how accessible it is to be able to come to watch this race. So Silverstone, if you're under 15, is free. And for an adult to come along, I think it's about just under £20, £18 for the whole day. You can still come and see us in the garage. You can still come behind the scenes. We'll show you behind the scenes, show you what goes on at the circuit. And Silverstone's great. It's really accessible. There's plenty of disabled parking. And it's not like the Grand Prix where it's so busy, it's just too many people. There's normally plenty of room. It's easy to park, easy to get around. And we'd be delighted to see you at a race. Have we got another question over there, Chloe?
Hi there.
Hello.
Question for Asher. How do you find a predominantly male-orientated sport? Is it even Stevens between you guys when you're racing and stuff, or has it been a bit of a challenge?
There's no differentiation. It's very much, you're a female. Oh, so what? Look, you turn up. You're not coming in as a complete novice, right? You're coming in, sitting into in a proper car, a race car. You're going to know what you need to do in the first instance. So it's fair game. So it's actually really cool being a female in motorsport, because there is a complete lack of females in motorsport. So yeah, it really needs a lot more sort of, I want to say advertising, but it's more promotion of people, like young women being able to come in and see what's going on, because it's actually quite attainable. You can do it. If I can do it. When I was asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? As a child, I always said I wanted to be a race driver. It was either that, and if I couldn't do that, I wanted to be a pilot. I was very quickly put off a pilot. My dad said, that's a glorified bus driver. He didn't want to pay for that, obviously. I managed to just find my own way very later on in life. And I'm so glad that I had the motivation to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think what really stood out for me today with the crowd we had as much interest from young girls wanting to have a go on our simulator and play the games we had going on over there as we did the young boys. So I think that's fantastic that we're really inspiring. And that's one of the things I love about Team BRIT, is we're inspiring the next generation, demonstrating to people who might be thinking, you know, I'm disabled, I can't do that, or parents who are worried about their disabled child thinking, oh, I'm really sorry, my child can't do that, they're disabled. Well, actually, you can. You know, we can demonstrate what can be achieved, and, you know, racing those cars around the circuit is no mean feat, so really pleased that we're able to demonstrate that.
Yeah, that's the real beauty of motorsport as well. It's the sport that doesn't discriminate.
Yeah.
If you're male, female, black, white, disabled, able-bodied, you can be successful at all levels, as we're showing within Team BRIT.
Aaron, exceptionally well said. And that's it from us. I really appreciate you coming to see and listen to what we've had to say. And hopefully you'll come and see it as a racetrack. Silverstone, 15th and 16th of June. You three there, I can see you're definitely going to be there. I'm looking forward to catching up with you then. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.